Does there seem at all to be a little bit of a cloud that's been lifted with this team this year? There seems to be, in talking to players, a little more enthusiasm. Their eyes are a little brighter.
Well, I don't know if there was necessarily ever a cloud, but I think there was an outside perception of a cloud, never internally. And I think these guys have really done a great job through the spring and the off season of really coming together, working together, and they feel good about where they are and their opportunity now to go out and train and put the work in to have a tremendous season.
A lot of players last week and were talking about how close-knit they feel their group is already. Do you sense the same?
Well, I think that's true. I mean, I think they've done between Herm and Joe and upstairs with all the coaches and the coordinators, they've done a great job of continuing to try to bring these guys closer and closer together. And I think that the players feel that. They feel an investment in it and so forth. And that's the exciting part of it.
You know about a lot of football teams. I'm sure you can sense what's a good team, the good energy, maybe the opposite. What is your feel for this year's team as you approach the season?
Well, I think we're excited about the opportunity ahead, and with you've got some new players at positions and so forth that weren't here in the spring. So at that point, we're still, I guess, very openly optimistic about that. That way, because we feel like in the reason why those players were brought here to Arizona State is they filled a certain void, and we felt like it was a chance to get better in certain areas. And so I think that's the exciting part for particularly the offensive skill guys that came in. We saw the tight ends in the spring that were the additions. We saw the running back in the spring that was a new addition. And now we'll see the same thing in the other spots. And so that's exciting. And then, getting the offensive line and putting it together, them playing together and letting it compete. The one thing that we were able to do through this is make competition for the two-deep roster, which is really important. A lot of times that competition doesn't come because there's a lot of younger players. In this case, this is a lot of players with experience. And so some of the freshmen, the few freshmen that we do have, they'll get their opportunities further down the line in some spots.
How much will you and Brian go back to being with the Ravens together and in practice and go over kind of what you did? How much will you take what happened there and bring it to this team?
Well, I think Brian's involvement with Glenn on offense and the offensive staff will help in direction and organizationally. What Brian taught me has been part of me since I left him. To when I went to Washington as the coordinator, and then later in Cincinnati as the head coach. So that hasn't never changed. What I learned from Brian, was tremendous for me, in my career. So, but I guess I have a lot of faith and trust, and I know how excited he is to do this.
Get bigger for the season, but working, and I'm not picking on kids' saying, but we're working with athletes this day and age. It seems like obviously you're creating a fun environment and they're competitive, but supportive environment. And how have you changed over the years, and how big is it to kind of have that? Yeah, it's work, it's business, but we're going to have fun with this attitude.
Yeah, I mean, it's always work and business, and I think that you can still do that and have a good time doing it. I mean, I've never come to work a day in my life. I get to wear a t-shirt and shorts to my job every day, and it's not work because I enjoy it. That's one thing my dad always told me was if you find something you really love, right, and it's not work. So I think that you can do that. Obviously, there's times where we challenge them, both mentally and physically. A lot of times where we challenge them both mentally and physically, and but this group, really does a nice job of kind of taking that and understanding, when those situations happen and how to deal with them. So.
chapter, and I don't know, in the sort of setting of weightlifting, strength training, and things like that, how important do you think that is for new guys to acclimate themselves with some of the guys that have been here a long time, and just to build that bond in that sort of environment?
Yeah, I mean, I think that strain and stress and situations where you're not comfortable are the best time to build bonds. That's part of the reason why strength and conditioning coaches have jobs, because the challenge of the summer is that exact thing, and through that challenge, becomes a bond or a team. And with all the new guys, both the ones that got here in the winter and the ones that got here in the summer, they've got up to speed really quickly.
Four of those guys, anything from four of those guys to all of them. Is that daunting at all, or do you still feel like you can do it with that group?
No, I actually feel more comfortable than actually how I felt last year with the group, because I feel like we have more depth here. Although we lost, a few good players to the portal. With that said, I think the guys that we've brought in bring a different dynamic that we didn't have last year, and a little bit more of a cohesiveness that allows them to understand that they can play off each other. There is no just one man. They understand that they're going to hold each other accountable, and they're all going to have opportunities to play. So, I'm excited about the group. I think they've really stepped up to the challenge. They understand their shortcomings, and they've really tried to attack those in the offseason. So I expect the group to play, smart, and be fast and, be productive.
What's the overall goal for the unit as a whole that you've been trying to hone in on with that group?
I think the overall goal that I push in the room is to play as a group. Like I said, there is no one guy right now, and they understand that. With that said, they're all going to scratch and claw to want to be that guy, and so you create kind of this dangling carrot in front of them that they're going to try to chase to do that. In order to do that, there's competition around them, so there's not just about jumping up and being athletic and being fast. No, it's about being able to line up correctly, being able to lead the room, being able to hold everybody else accountable on your play and you handling the things the way you need to handle them. So I think that is going to push the room to be great.
Well, thanks again for your time. Looking forward to
Appreciate
watching you
it.
guys out there.
How you doing?
Jake Freeman.
Nice to meet you.
So obviously there's a lack of depth with the wide receiver group, and I know you kind of said you're more comfortable with it, but anything in particular where that makes you more comfortable compared to where you even at spring ball, not even last season?
Yeah, I think the guys that we added, the age and their actual production, and having had played, already in college football. So you talk about Charles Hall, played a lot of football. He's a senior. He's a guy who understands that. How he has 1 year to get this done, so he's going to be wanting to do things correctly, but he's also extremely athletic and extremely fast, so he's going to bring another edge to the outside for us. Cam Johnson, obviously adding him inside, his experience in the SEC, being a very productive guy, but also a captain of his football team, adding that to the room brings a lot of depth and professionalism. Not just with the, on the field production, but also just off the field as well. Guys that they can, talk to and relate to about certain situations on and off the field. Then you got the kid that we added, Zeke Freeman, very fast kid, track guy, guy who's going to provide a lot of speed outside for us. Even though he's coming from the junior college position, we instantly got faster with adding, those players to the room. So I think the depth that we've added is very good. I'm even happy with our walk-ons. Our freshman walk-ons that we've added to the room, our incoming freshmen. They're guys that'll be developed guys that are smart players. They'll understand their role this year, but I think they'll all have potential to help us in the future.
You kind of mentioned it earlier with Johnson being the leader of the team. How important have you envisioned taking that leadership role, especially in this wide receiver?
Yeah, I think him and Brian Thompson both will play that role. I think Brian Thompson did that last year for us, but even more this year with him coming back and not going, leaving us, exercising his last year. the combination of both them on a professional level and having played in other programs, you know, they bring this sense of gratitude about being here and also this sense of work ethic, you know, and understanding that they also want to get it in this last year. So they're going to scratch and claw and do everything that they can to be productive. And also they understand their roles as leaders, and they've really taken that on and understanding that they got to be on time. They got to work hard in the classroom. They got to show all these study habits to be able to push down to the rest of the room. So I think the combination of them two both brings the leadership that we needed in the room.
And then you kind of talked about how also decided to come back to this flagship eligibility. A lot of people have decided to move on from the program. Is that something that you're proud of? You taking pride in saying this guy that wanted to come back and make an opportunity for most of them?
Absolutely. And being able to get a guy like Cam Johnson too, right? To be able to, you know, talk to Brian Thompson about the opportunity that we'll have this year for him versus leaving and going to the NFL, you know, have an opportunity to be more productive and staying back to be the leader, not only in our room, but of his team. I think he's obviously part of our leadership committee that we put together in the offseason. He's done a great job with that. It's also challenged him personally, you know, to be that guy. Cam Johnson, obviously coming from another program and then forced right into this position, I think he's done a great job of really stepping up to that and really taking that challenge on head on and understanding that it's just not going to be about production on the field, but off the field as well. And he's really taken on that role with the guys.
The mantra of ASU over these last years has been it's a professional program, professional model. How do you envision helping, you know, the guys like Connolly who came back and have aspirations to go play in the league? How do you envision helping them to make sure they take that next step successfully?
It's going to be a lot of hard work mentally for them, and I've always talked to the players, the wide receivers about that. You know, the biggest difference, speed is going to be similar once you get to the lead. Everybody will be fast, but the biggest difference is their mental capacity, you know, how hard they study, you know, how much they're willing to sacrifice and what they're going to put in to be able to earn that contract and be able to get a position on the team. So, you know, we're constantly going to work at that and talk about that. I'm constantly going to challenge them to do the right things, you know, to put the extra time in and to, you know, do the things that are hard. And that's going to be the difference for them. So it's going to be a constant work. They understand it. They're up to the challenge.
And then in these last few months, in the offseason, anything that you've seen that you want to move on heading into the season?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I want to be able to get a cohesive group to work together, you know, to understand that there's healthy competition in the room and that it's going to take everybody in the room to be a good group. You know, it's not just about the one person that, you know, receives all the accolades, but, you know, I truly believe you're only as strong as your weakest link. So, you know, our guys that are helping the scout team, the guys that are working on special teams, the guys that help us get better behind the scenes, you know, I really need to push everybody from the bottom to the top. And I think if we do that as a group, I think we'll have a group that's going to, you know, love the game. They're going to play hard for each other, and they're going to have a bunch of fun because, you know, that's what it's really about.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks,
Appreciate
man.
it.
A couple games that we've played, and we're going to get into week 3 and see where we're at.
Seems like the recruiting process with Carter Brown lasted like 5 years or something, but now he's on campus and you know, working out on his own with the players. What are your expectations for Carter as a freshman?
Well, I think he's a talented young man. Fortunately, I think we're going to be much improved at that position. With Jace Feely, he's had a really good spring and an excellent summer as well. Carter has got to learn what college football is like and all the nuances that go with being a college player, and just the game's different. We also have another young man, Marv Lewis, that kicked at Colorado State, so I think there'll be a lot of competition at that position, and we ought to be improved.
I know Carter was working in the offseason with Zane Gonzalez. Did you get any like scouting report from Zane how Carter's doing in those workouts?
You know, I really kind of stayed away from that. Just in my evaluations of, you know, Zane's obviously a professional player, had an excellent career here. I think that Carter's similar to Zane with leg strength and just athleticism, and they're built a lot the same. And so I was glad they were able to work together.
Coach, what is something that you look at film from last year that you'd like to clean up specifically for this year?
I think two areas. Number one, I think our penalties on special teams, particularly in the return game, hurt us a lot. It took away some explosive plays that could really help us. That's number one thing we have to do. And then I think probably the decision making by our returners on plays where you don't have to make a home run on every play. And I think that's going to be an important part of our training and our evaluation as we go through training camp before we play.
Is that kind of easier said than done because you want the returners to have confidence, but sometimes you just need, like you said, you need to rein it back and just to take the touchback, take the fair catch. How hard is it as a special teams coach to really navigate that line?
Well, I think the biggest thing, you have to turn it into a science, and it's got to be, for us in college football, it's got to be Sunday through Friday where you demonstrate on the practice field the ability to make good decisions. And then when you get in the game, you have to play. You can't concern yourself with too many things. You have to trust your training, and I think that's why practice time and all the repetitions and the things that they do in practice get forth, move forward into the games, and that's where it'll show up.
I know maybe under the radar, I think Eddie Topisky might have been the biggest surprise last year, really thrust it into that starting punter position and really, played very, very well for a newcomer. What did you see from Eddie? What do you want to see from Eddie also in 2022?
First of all, Eddie is beyond his years in terms of knowledge of the position. I was very impressed with his approach, with what he understands and knows about that position. I thought he demonstrated that he could do it in pressure situations in games. And so that, along with a year being here and working with our strength staff and getting stronger as a player, I think he's going to be a really good player.
I don't know if punters really need to have guns. It looks like Eddie's spending a little too much time in the weight room in the summer.
Well, hopefully he's not spent too much, but punters have to be athletes.
Yeah.
And if you look at the guys in the National Football League, they're athletic guys. I think Eddie kind of fits that mold.
I want to ask about Matt Hawk, since you talk about players in the NFL, what they're supposed to look like. Has the success of Matt Hawk in the NFL, I'm assuming, did not surprise you at all?
It has not. I thought his development in his last year, and then obviously what he's done as a pro, has just gone up at a rapid pace. He's an excellent athlete. He's a smart guy. He's a good guy. He shows up every day, available, accountable, and I'm not surprised at all that he's doing well.
And speaking of Zen, it looks like, I know maybe a couple of rough years in the NFL, but it looks like he really kind of found himself again in the NFL. Well, what do you think was the difference for Zane playing so much better last year compared to 2-3 years ago?
I think over time, a kicker in the NFL develops real confidence where they know they can overcome a bad play or a missed kick and not let that affect the next one. And so I think he's probably getting to that point in his career where he said, you know what, I've been through it, I've done it, I've had failures. And I can rely on my ability to overcome those and just keep moving forward.
Do you think a success of a kicker can really rub off on the punter and vice versa? So when Zane won the Luke Rosa, Matt had a very good year at punter. Do you think sometimes that success between place kicker and punter can rub off each other and really elevate both games?
I think that they spend so much time together on a daily basis. At practice, they're always together. One guy holds for the other guy to kick, and so I think that success has a tendency to breed success, and particularly if you pay attention to how another successful player operates, and then you can take some of the good qualities that guy has and help yourself.
For Tevin, I think Tevin has come a long way. His body has changed. My expectations, if the first two backs go down, you have to be ready to play. And so how fast do I ramp you up from the fall camp to that first game? I think more of it is on a confidence level. And so I would love for him to get a couple touches in the first couple games before we get to conference, just from a confidence side. Let him get hit a little bit and see how fast that game is. But he's done a pretty good job with me. Where did you grow up? Oh, okay. It was funny because I went to Stafford not knowing my daughter now plays at VCU in Richmond. Yeah, and so now I can go visit their parents and visit. She plays volleyball at VCU, yeah. And so it's just about an hour and some away from Stafford as well.
I was curious because I've heard of Stafford a lot. It's only about an hour.
Yeah.
Sean, I talked to Jed Fish of the
Yes.
He said that he wanted to own the state of Arizona when it comes to recruiting.
Yep.
What does that make you feel? What does that make you think? Obviously, you love the local talent here. How do you guys start reeling in those guys?
First, you got to start winning. And I've been on the other side of the table where some of our kids wanted to go and experience other places because they've been in Arizona. I've had Nikhil and Chase and Bryce Perkins in the beginning come to Arizona State, and so I've been on that side of the table. We need to make sure that we try to put a board around it. I understand there's so many more possibilities out there for our kids. But we want to keep the Arizona kids, and they're doing fantastic all over the place. And so, is it hard? It is hard. When Coach Fish said he wants to put it on, that just means that we got to get competitive with him and provide a better product than he does.
What have you seen Arizona high school football?
It's crazy. I got here in 1999 and started coaching, and I came from Hawaii where it was tough football, and in our area there's so many kids that went out and played in the league. It started out, I think, better coaching, more people moving in. It has grown tremendously. I'm excited for Arizona football, and especially when now they're getting out and playing top-level teams all around the country. When I first was there, we played St. John Bosco and we played Miami Northwestern, and trying to get out to give our kids that recognition out there. And now more and more high schools are doing that. I think it's just going better and better. Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.